Hey everybody, so I just wanted to do a really quick video kind of going over my top packages that I use from VIPM. So these are all different, community packages available. All the ones that I'm sharing are free, free for development and free for deployment. So these are, my main ones. Just wanted to share if this is helpful for anyone else. First off, I wanted to start with some of the front panel stuff. So I just have two toolkits that I use a lot. So the first one being the DMC GUI suite. So I use this for most of my UIs, or at least as a template. Sometimes, get into some custom controls and stuff. But, if I'm just creating a quick UI, this is always my go-to. So the DMC GUI suite has some really nice, good-looking controls and is free to use. Second for controls is this Flatline Controls by JDP Science. They've got some nice ones. The flat, kind of controls is, modern, looks good, and they've got a good tool here. So this is another one I use quite a bit. Then kind of going into some of the block diagram toolkits that I use. First, I just wanted to show AsciiDoc. So if you don't know what AsciiDoc is, this is a way to basically generate documentation programmatically. So this could be PDFs or it could be HTML documents. Basically can create documents with, tables of contents, with chapters, with et cetera, et cetera. Here's an example, right, of creating an HTML document, and it can load images, etc. So this also has an additional anti-doc tool you can use with this for documenting LabVIEW. So it can, detect, in your project, like things like DQMH modules, stuff like that, and generate documentation accordingly. So this is a big one I use a lot for A, just documenting my LabVIEW code, and then B, sometimes just generating PDFs that we might need to generate. So this is a big one I use a lot. Another one I wanted to highlight was the tag engine. So this allows you to basically create, think of basically global variables, except they aren't actually global variables, they're DVRs, but basically you can create named DVRs on the fly, and has a whole bunch of other cool tools beyond just being able to make data publicly accessible. Like you can register for events, so I can have events that are triggered when values of these tags change, or I can also use like set requests where I can request that an owning module changes a tag, and it can update it and then return a callback that it was successful. So I use this a lot in a lot of projects. Really cool tool. Another one I wanted to highlight is the SQLite library by JDP Science. So this is just a wrapper of the SQLite DLL, allowing you to execute queries to SQLite. So you can create a SQLite database. You can, create tables, delete tables, insert data, read data from it, pretty much anything, right? You can just write arbitrary queries, and there's functions that help you with specific types of things. Really good tool. I use it a lot for config files, so I can, store all my data in basically a database format in a file. And you can also encrypt these as well, so you can have like an encrypted database, so no one can just go poking around in your file and find sensitive information. So I use this one a lot. Another one I wanted to highlight is Pain Relief. So if you never use Pain Relief and you use splitters, you'll definitely want to look into this. So this basically allows you to so I can launch this from Quick Drop, and it's basically going to load this Pain Relief window that breaks up my front panel and shows where the different panes are. I can select a pane. One cool thing is I can actually name these panes, so they're not just pane 1, pane 2, pane 3, pane 4, but I can assign names to them, which makes it easier when you're trying to find different controls, or you're using property nodes to interact with certain panes, you now have them named. You also can specify details about them, scroll bars, colors, the minimum pane size if you don't want it to resize smaller. You also can click on the splitters and adjust properties of the splitters. So really cool tool if you use panes and splitters in LabVIEW. This next one, this is probably my number one toolkit that I use. I use this in virtually every single project that I work on, is the JSON text library by JDP Science. So this is just meant for working with JSON. So, it has cool tools for converting LabVIEW data types to JSON or JSON to LabVIEW data types. It has tools for searching and returning items in JSON, for finding specific items, for all sorts of stuff. It even has some cool like class serialization capabilities and stuff like that, and some stuff just for making JSON look nice for a UI. So I use this all the time. If it's not for connecting to like some sort of web technology or some sort of web server, web database, etc., I just store a lot of my configs as JSON files and use this to basically read that JSON file and then convert it right back to LabVIEW data types. So this is, like I said, this is probably my number one most used toolkit out of any toolkits. Last one I wanted to mention is the Malleable Buffer by JDP Science. If you haven't noticed, most of my toolkits I've shared have been from JDP Science. He makes some awesome stuff. I use them all the time. But this is basically a way you can create a circular buffer of basically any data type. So I can create a buffer, specify the size and the data type, and I can either interact with that by reference or by name. And then basically I can add data to the buffer, I can flush the buffer, I can read the contents of the buffer, stuff like that. So really cool tools when you want to just have like a circular buffer of data. This is a really good way to do that. And those are kind of my top VIPM packages that I use all the time. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Canon Controls is your gateway to mastering LabVIEW. Dive into programming for data acquisition, industrial communications, and manufacturing automation. Explore how to enhance your projects with cybersecurity best practices. Join the journey to elevate your skills and secure your systems with every episode.